And Yahweh visited Sarah as he had said, and Yahweh did for Sarah as he had spoken. So Sarah conceived and bore Abraham a son in his old age, at the appointed time of which Elohim had spoken to him. And Abraham called the name of his son who was born to him, whom Sarah bore to him, Yitzchak. And Abraham circumcised his son Yitzchak when he was 8 days old, as Elohim had commanded him. And Abraham was 100 years old when his son Yitzchak was born to him. And Sarah said, Elohim has made me laugh, and everyone who hears of it laughs with me. And she said, Who would have said to Abraham that Sarah would nurse children? For I have borne him a son in his old age. And the child grew and was weaned. And Abraham made a great feast on the day that Yitzchak was weaned. And Sarah saw the son of Hagar, the Mitzrite, whom she had borne to Abraham, mocking. So she said to Abraham, Drive out this female servant and her son, for the son of this female servant shall not inherit with my son, with Yitzchak. And the matter was very evil in the eyes of Abraham because of his son. But Elohim said to Abraham, Let it not be evil in your eyes because of the boy and because of your female servant. Whatever Sarah has said to you, listen to her voice, for in Yitzchak your seed is called. And of the son of the female servant I also make a nation, because he is your seed. And Abraham rose early in the morning, and took bread and a skin of water, which he gave to Hagar, putting it on her shoulder, also the boy, and sent her away. And she left and wandered in the wilderness of Beersheba. And the water in the skin was used up, and she placed the boy under one of the shrubs. And she went and sat down about a bowshot away, for she said, Let me not see the death of the boy. And she sat opposite him, and lifted her voice, and wept. And Elohim heard the voice of the boy, and the messenger of Elohim called to Hagar from the Shamayim, and said to her, What is the matter with you, Hagar? Do not fear, for Elohim has heard the voice of the boy where he is. Arise, lift up the boy, and hold him with your hand, for I make a great nation of him. And Elohim opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water. And she went and filled the skin with water, and gave the boy a drink. And Elohim was with the boy, and he grew and dwelt in the wilderness, and became an archer. And he dwelt in the wilderness of Paran. And his mother took a wife for him from the land of Mitzrayim. And it came to be at the time that Abimelech and Pichol, the commander of his army, spoke to Abraham, saying, Elohim is with you in all that you do. And now swear to me by Elohim not to be untrue to me, to my offspring, or to my descendants. Do to me according to the kindness that I have done to you, and to the land in which you have dwelt. And Abraham said, I swear. And Abraham reproved Abimelech. And Abraham reproved Abimelech because of a well of water which Abimelech's servants had seized. And Abimelech said, I do not know who has done this deed, neither did you inform me, nor did I hear until today. So Abraham took sheep and cattle and gave them to Abimelech, and the two of them made a covenant. And Abraham put 7 ewe lambs of the flock by themselves. And Abimelech asked Abraham, What are these 7 ewe lambs which you have put by themselves? And he said, Take these 7 ewe lambs from my hand, to be my witness that I have dug this well. So he called that place Beersheba, because the 2 of them swore on oath there. Thus they made a covenant at Beersheba, and Abimelech rose with Pichol, the commander of his army, and they returned to the land of Palestites. And he planted a tamarisk tree in Beersheba, and they called on the name of Yahweh, the everlasting El. And Abraham sojourned in the land of the Palestites many days. Chapter 22. And it came to be after these events that Elohim tried Abraham and said to him, Abraham. And he said, Here I am. And he said, Take your son now, your only son Yitzchak, whom you love, and go to the land of Moriah, and offer him there as a burnt offering on one of the mountains which I command you. And Abraham rose early in the morning, and saddled his donkey, and took 2 of his young men with him, and Yitzchak his son. And he split the wood for the burnt offering, and arose, and went to the place which Elohim had commanded him. And on the 3rd day Abraham lifted his eyes, and saw the place from a distance. So Abraham said to his young men, Stay here with the donkey, while the boy and I go over there and worship, and come back to you. And Abraham took the wood of the burnt offering, and laid it on Yitzchak his son. And he took the fire in his hand, and a knife, and the 2 of them went together. And Yitzchak spoke to Abraham his father, and said, My father. And he said, Here I am, my son. And he said, See the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for a burnt offering? And Abraham said, My son, Elohim provides for himself the lamb for a burnt offering. And the 2 of them went together. And they came to the place which Elohim had commanded him, and Abraham built an altar there, and placed the wood in order. And he bound Yitzchak his son, and laid him on the altar, upon the wood. And Abraham stretched out his hand, and took the knife to slay his son. But the messenger of Yahweh called to him from the Shamayim, and said, Abraham, Abraham. And he said, Here I am. And he said, Do not lay your hand on the boy, nor touch him, for now I know that you revere Elohim, seeing you have not withheld your son, your only son, from me. And Abraham lifted his eyes and looked, and saw behind him a ram caught in a bush by its horns. And Abraham went and took the ram, and offered it up for a burnt offering instead of his son. And Abraham called the name of the place Yahweh Yireh, as it is said to this day, On the mountain Yahweh provides. And the messenger of Yahweh called to Abraham a 2nd time from the Shamayim, and said, By myself I have sworn, declares Yahweh, because you have done this, and I have not withheld your son, your only son, that I shall certainly barak you, and I shall certainly increase your seed as the stars of the Shamayim, and as the sand which is on the seashore, and let your seed possess the gate of their enemies. And in your seed all the nations of the earth shall be Baruch, because you have obeyed my voice. Then Abraham returned to his young men, and they rose up and went together to Beersheba. And Abraham dwelt at Beersheba. And it came to be after these events that it was reported to Abraham, saying, See, Milcah too has borne children to your brother Nahor. Uz his firstborn, and Buz his brother, and Kemuel the father of Aram, and Kesed, and Kazo, and Pildash, and Yidlaph, and Bethuel. And Bethuel brought forth Rivkah. These 8 Milcah bore to Nachor, Abraham's brother, and his concubine, whose name was Reumah. Reumah also bore Teva, and Gaham, and Takash, and Maacah. Chapter 23. And Sarah lived 127 years, the years of the life of Sarah. And Sarah died in Kiriath Arba, that is Hebron, in the land of Canaan. And Abraham came to mourn for Sarah and to weep for her. Then Abraham rose up from beside his dead and spoke to the sons of Keth, saying, I am a foreigner and a sojourner among you. Give me property for a burial site among you, so that I bury my dead from my presence. And the sons of Keth answered Abraham, saying to him, Hear us, my master. You are a prince of Elohim among us. Bury your dead in the choicest of our burial places. None of us withholds from you his burial site, from burying your dead. So Abraham rose and bowed himself to the people of the land, the sons of Keth. And he spoke with them, saying, If it is your desire that I bury my dead from my presence, hear me, and approach Ephron, son of Sochar, for me. And let me have the cave of Machpelah, which he has, which is at the end of his field. Let him give it to me for the complete amount of silver, as property for a burial site among you. And Ephron dwelt among the sons of Keth. And Ephron the Hittite answered Abraham in the hearing of the sons of Keth, all who entered at the gate of his city, saying, No, my master, listen to me. I shall give you the field and the cave that is in it. I shall give it to you in the presence of the sons of my people. I shall give it to you. Bury your dead. And Abraham bowed himself down before the people of the land, and he spoke to Ephron in the hearing of the people of the land, saying, If only you would hear me, I shall give the amount of silver for the field. Take it from me, and let me bury my dead there. And Ephron answered Abraham, saying to him, My master, listen to me. The land is worth 400 shekels of silver. What is that between you and me? So bury your dead. And Abraham listened to Ephron, and Abraham weighed out the silver for Ephron, which he had named in the hearing of the sons of Keth, 400 shekels of silver, currency of the merchants. Thus the field of Ephron, which was in Machpelah, which was before Mamre, the field and the cave which was in it, and all the trees that were in the field, which were within all the surrounding borders, were deeded to Abraham as a possession in the presence of the sons of Keth, before all who went in at the gate of his city. And after this Abraham buried Sarah his wife in the cave of the field of Machpelah, before Mamre, that is Hebron, in the land of Canaan. Thus the field and the cave that is in it were deeded to Abraham by the sons of Keth as property for burial site. Chapter 24. And Abraham was old, advanced in years, and Yahweh had baraked Abraham in every way. And Abraham said to the oldest servant of his house, who ruled over all that he had, Please put your hand under my thigh, so that I make you swear by Yahweh, the Elohim of the Shamayim, and the Elohim of the earth, that you do not take a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites among whom I dwell. But go to my land and to my relatives, and take a wife for my son Yitzchak. And the servant said to him, What if the woman refuses to follow me to this land? Do I then take your son back to the land from which you came? And Abraham said to him, Beware, lest you take my son back there. Yahweh, Elohim of the Shamayim, who took me from my father's house and from the land of my relatives, and who spoke to me and swore to me, saying, To your seed I give this land. He sends his messenger before you, and you shall take a wife for my son from there. And if the woman refuses to follow you, then you shall be released from this oath. Only do not take my son back there. Then the servant put his hand under the thigh of Abraham his master, and swore to him concerning this matter. And the servant took 10 of his master's camels and left, for all his master's goods were in his hand. And he arose and went to Aram Naharaim, to the city of Nachor. And he made his camels kneel down outside the city by a fountain of water at evening time, the time when women go out to draw water. And he said, Yahweh Elohim of my master Abraham, please meet before me this day, and show kindness to my master Abraham. See, I am standing here by the fountain of water, and the daughters of the men of the city are coming out to draw water. Now let it be that the young woman to whom I say, Please let down your jar to let me drink, and she says, Drink, and let me water your camels too. Let her be the one whom you have appointed for your servant Yitzchak. And let me know by this that you have shown kindness to my master. And it came to be, before he had ended speaking, that, see, Rivkah, who was born to Bethuel, son of Milcah, the wife of Nachor, Abraham's brother, came out with her jar on her shoulder. And the young woman was very good looking, a maiden, no man having known her. And she went down to the fountain, filled her jar, and came up. And the servant ran to meet her, and said, Please let me drink a little water from your jar. And she said, Drink, my master. And she hurried and let her jar down to her hand, and gave him a drink. And when she had finished giving him a drink, she said, Let me draw water for your camels too, until they have finished drinking. And she hurried and emptied her jar into the trough, ran back to the fountain to draw water, and drew for all his camels. And watching her, the man remained silent in order to know whether Yahweh had prospered his way or not. And it came to be, when the camels had finished drinking, that the man took a golden nose ring weighing 1/2 shekel, and 2 bracelets for her wrist weighing 10 shekels of gold, and said, Whose daughter are you? Please inform me, is there room in your father's house for us to spend the night? And she said to him, I am the daughter of Bethuel, Milcah's son, whom she bore to Nachor. And she said to him, We have both straw and fodder enough, and room to spend the night. And the man bowed down his head and worshipped Yahweh. And he said, Baruch be Yahweh, Elohim of my master Abraham, who has not forsaken his kindness and his truth toward my master. As for me, being on the way, Yahweh led me to the house of my master's brothers. Then the young woman ran and informed those of her mother's house these matters. And Rivkah had a brother whose name was Lavan. And Lavan ran out to the man to the fountain. And it came to be, when he saw the nose ring and the bracelets on his sister's wrist, and when he heard the words of his sister Rivkah, saying, Thus the man spoke to me, that he went to the man and saw him standing by the camels at the fountain. And he said, Come in, O Baruch of Yahweh. Why do you stand outside? I myself have prepared the house and a place for the camels. So the man came into the house while he unloaded the camels, and provided straw and fodder for the camels, and water to wash his feet and the feet of the men who were with him, and put food before him to eat. But he said, Let me not eat until I have spoken my word. And he said, Speak on. And he said, I am Abraham's servant. And Yahweh has baraked my master exceedingly, and he has become great.